Welcome in, my friend Chris. It's good to have you on the show today.
Oh,
Can
thank you.
you?
Well, it's great to be here. Yes.
Yeah, sweet, excellent. Chat, everything's coming in loud and clear. Let me just turn down the volume on my side. Excellent. Well, I know who you are, but the people out there, they're not really familiar with you at all. So, as a fellow gamer, what are some of your favorite games recently, or indeed of all
That's
time?
a yeah. That's a great question. I think it's great that we can identify ourselves by games. I feel like I can make a lot of enemies and friends. All at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like I'd start with I'm a little bit older. I'm almost 35 now, and I was gaming since I was young. But one of the first games that really stuck out to me, and I think everyone has to agree on, is that Ocarina of Time was just groundbreaking, life changing for so many people. And
Genre
that,
defining.
yeah, it was probably actually my first Zelda game, because before that time, I didn't even have like a Super Nintendo, and we didn't have a lot of games anyway growing up. So it wasn't until I borrowed a friend's copy of Ocarina of Time, and I was like, I'll slash my sword. Let's see what this is like. And
Ah,
oh,
the best.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
that game alone is like. I remember playing. We couldn't afford the game, so we got the like Blockbuster disc, and we rented that a couple times, and we got like, to the first dungeon because we were young and didn't know what the heck we were doing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's a very big
Yeah,
one. That's a very big one.
this brings back the fact that, because in my day, we couldn't save most games, so we played on the Nintendo, and we would just play as long as we were allowed to, or as long as we could stay awake. And we didn't beat the game. We didn't beat the game. We just had to turn it
Oh man,
off.
it does bring back memories.
um,
I remember that was like I had like a Sega Genesis. I think that's how that was with those
mhm.
old controllers where the ports had the wires popping out of them, and if you pushed it in too hard, the wire would bend. And then you had to like, what do you do? Guess we're getting the pliers so we can
Yeah,
plug a
they
controller
felt
in.
they still felt indestructible, though.
Oh,
Old school
definitely.
controllers, you could kill someone with them.
Yeah, they're like Nokia
I don't know about
phones.
now.
Hmm, probably not. My
Yeah,
GameCube
probably not.
style Switch controller is actually much lighter than the old school GameCube controller ever was. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and let's see. I'll spout off a few more just to see if I can get some more friends here.
Sure.
I'm a diehard Dead Space fan. I love just having the crap scared out of me.
Hmm.
And that is my horror genre. Like Alone on a spaceship, there's something in the pipes, or in the
Oh yeah.
vents. It's coming for you, and you're just gonna die at any moment. You can't get past that kind of adrenaline rush, and that's if you're an adrenaline junkie, that's a good quick cheap fix rather than jumping off a building.
Oh,
Uh, you know,
100%.
uh, uh, yeah,
Yeah, this
absolutely.
that game. Actually, I have a link for you after this podcast. We just put it in our Discord channel. It's an interview with the head developer of that game. It's like a 12-minute, it's 15-minute video, something like that, about like their process and how they came upon the game that is Dead Space. It's very well done. I'll definitely link that to you after. But it's that game
Yeah.
for me as well. One of my like top. That if you like that game, you'll like Alien Isolation as well. That was a
Oh, really?
oh
Okay. Well,
yeah,
then I have to check that out. Yeah.
and you
I
have
hear. I
to
hear
go.
that. I was gonna say. I hear that they took a lot of inspiration from a lot of really good games. They basically pulled a George Lucas. You
Oh yeah,
know, they took what they liked and they mashed it together, and it came out beautiful.
yeah. I would definitely say that my biggest pro to that game is you have to play it on hard. Is my recommendation because
Mm.
at hard and above, there's more. The alien actually has its own AI that learns how you play, and it will counter how you play. so
Oh.
so I kept making these like noise devices and would chuck them down the hallway, and the alien would go chase after him until I did this at some point, and the alien just looks
Mhm.
at it and slowly turns around and like sprints at me, and I was like, ah! And then I was dead in the water or in the ship, I
Yeah.
guess. It was
Oh,
it's horror
perfect.
perfection.
Is this on all platforms too? Can I
I
get
believe
this
it
on
is.
PlayStation?
I don't know. I know it's on PC
Okay.
because we play it on PC. I'm not sure, but it's definitely one. If you ever can, I would highly recommend it. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And lastly, I'll just say this. I've got a couple of games here. I mean, so many I could list, but I'll just spout off, I guess, a few real quick. StarCraft was like, life defining, life changing. Half Life was life defining and life changing.
Speaking my language.
And And probably the biggest one that I've had, at least recently, semi-recently, I am a hardcore Dark Souls fan, and I just cannot get enough punishment. If you haven't played Dark Souls, I feel like you really haven't played real gaming.
That's fair. Are you excited for the new? It's not a Dark Souls game, but it's from the same studio, Sekiro or Sekiro.
Yeah.
There's a way to pronounce
Sekiro?
it. Sekiro. Yeah, I knew it was like
Japanese on.
There's a way to pronounce it that my filthy white mouth can't do. So Sekiro. Say it again.
Yeah, I think it's Sekiro.
Sekiro. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure I'm.
I studied Japanese a little bit. I hope that actually translates well.
Sure, but I'm very excited. Just the limited clips that I've seen. Oh boy, it's like it's mobile because it looks like it's going to be. I played Neo for a bit. Neo was a competitor of the Dark Souls, similar genre, kind of samurai hack and slash, but it was so deep. Right, there were so many things, and I'm streaming, and I'm like, chat, I'm gonna end up just reading the menu for the next hour and a half. Like if it was just me in my basement, I'd be like, oh, let's go, I'm gonna min max this. But I gotta put on a show. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be doing that.
Yeah, some games are not meant for streaming, and I'm gonna say like Pillars of Eternity is probably not great for streaming because it's just nonstop text. You're reading a book,
right?
Sometimes
that's. If people like that, cool. I know that's not me, so
yeah. Cool. Yeah. Dark Souls is just in my opinion, I think it's great because it is perfect for streaming because people get to watch and suffer with you, and it's like you're going through a foxhole together. You guys are just all in the same trenches. You're just suffering together, and you're hoping for a victory. And when you get that victory, it is amazing.
The best. Oh yeah, when I was playing it, we did 1, 2, and 3 on stream. Actually, I think we started 2 and we said this isn't fun, and then we just went right to 3 because 2 was like kind of shrugged.
2 was it was the redheaded stepchild of the series for sure. Not awful by itself, but yeah.
I think we got like halfway through, and then I just beat it off stream because it was like I wanted to beat it, but the people didn't want to see it, so I just went right to 3. But yeah. So chat, that's to qualify our new friend. Is a real gamer, said likes Dark Souls. You already know. Confirmed. So to give chat knows, but to give you some idea, Chris, we've been having a lot of people on the stream recently. My hair is doing crazy things tonight. We've been getting a lot of people on the stream that have been very like wellness focused. And when I was thinking about people that I knew in my life that I think and thought could provide value to the community, to the people, you're one of the ones that was at the top of those lists because I know we would talk at like the parties in passing, but you had a lot of really interesting things to say about commerce and finance, and that's why I wanted to bring you on. So I guess a good place to start would be, and we were kind of talking about this before the podcast chat, was like, we got games like Anthem's coming out. That's $60 to $80 depending. We got Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out. We got Division 2, and we got so much money that the gamers spend on the things we consume, but we do feel pressured to like continuously buy the things to keep up with our friends.
Yeah.
So how do you're a gamer, you manage your checkbook. How exactly do you manage your checkbook with all these purchases, and or do you have tips for the people on how to better do their financial things?
Yeah, I'll say that it is really twofold kind of an answer to that question, and the first really would relate far more to about how do you manage your hobby, right? How do you take the thing that you love? How do you take the thing that is very much a form of self-expression for you, and how do you manage that in a way that's reasonable and definitely, obviously, in regards to wellness, you want to keep away from a sort of obsession. We've all been there. We've all had something where we played a game and it was 24 hours later and we were like, where am I? Is it daylight? What's going on? And the other half of that question being, of course, how do you manage your own finances? And that's a question that everybody has an interest in to some degree or another. They want to know, what can I do to just survive? Because it's not like things are cheap. Last I checked, property, housing expenses, rent, and food, these things are getting a little bit more expensive. And our conveniences don't necessarily make it easier for us because, you can order on any one of the Grubhub apps or whatever that lets you order food online. But you are spending extra, right? Yeah, you're bringing convenience, but at a price. So I guess starting with the gaming tips in general, how do we manage our hobby as a gamer? There are a lot of things you can really do, and some of the things that I have done is I say maybe matured a little as a gamer.
Matured.
Yeah, I would start with here's something that's simple: is to stick to a system or stick to a particular format. If you're the kind of guy or gal who's got you've got the Switch, you've got a PlayStation, you've got a PlayStation 3 and 4, you've got Xbox, you've also got your computer, and you've set that up for gaming. You've got access to a little bit too much, and to some degree, it is at least beneficial to artificially limit yourself. So I used to game heavily on my computer. And it was. I still probably think it's obviously, the computer. What is it? The superior race, right?
Yeah.
The
PC Master
the PC
Race,
Master Race, right? PC Master Race.
It is better, however, whatever you're having fun with, whatever.
Yeah, and no judgment, of course, to what system you use. I don't believe in that. You do whatever you want, but I got to a point where I said, you know what, I'm going to buy one system that I think is probably the best, and I'm probably going to play exclusively that system most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me personally, I just bought a PlayStation 4. It comes with a lot of exclusives, and I feel like it comes with a lot of games that have great replay value also.
Definitely agree.
And that's another tip. You really want to find games that you can get replay value out of.
Mm.
And for everybody it's different. For me, like games like Smash Bros, certain online games. Like I used to play TFC, which is Team Fortress Classic back in the day. I mean, you can get a lot of hours in these games, and you can get a lot of satisfaction out of them. And you will spend, and the cost to hour ratio, or the dollar to hour ratio is going to be very, very low.
Right.
And you're going to save a lot of money just by doing those two things alone.
That's
another thing I would add.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. No, you go first. I was going to say that's actually one of the reasons why I started playing World of Warcraft, because back in high school and back in early college, I was buying like a new game every 3 weeks, and it was $60, maybe more if I got the like deluxe edition, whatever.
Yeah.
And then WoW is like, okay, you spend the $30 initially, but then it's $15 a month, and you can play all day, every day, and there's still more to do. So I was like, oh, this is fiscally responsible, I said as well. I scratched my neck, like, oh, yeah. I since have not, can't play WoW anymore.
Yeah.
Even though Sylvanas is my queen for the Horde, the whole thing. I can't play that anymore, so too much.
Yeah,
but,
and that's another. And going on to wellness, right? You have to always balance everything with an aspect of wellness. I personally, just me, no judgment for anybody. I was playing, MMORPGs when they first came out. Some of the first ones I dabbled in before I kind of landed in EverQuest, and it was a religious experience, right? It was amazing, right. The kind of depth. You look at it now and it's absolute garbage. I mean, there are better,
people actually still play old school EverQuest.
Yeah,
it's a big MMO to this day, because the core game is still very much enjoyable, and they do updates on it, and it's a fun base game, and they've just extrapolated on that without adding too much. People laugh and they make fun of WoW that it's become like a mobile game where you sign in on your cooldown to do your little task for 5 minutes, then you sign off, right? It's like more like a Candy Crush than it is an MMO, because they've made World of Warcraft into like a bunch of little mini games, which I see, and that's one of the reasons that I stopped playing, because back in my day when I was playing, it was the height of Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, right, where it was like, you actually fought stuff, and you actually roam
Yeah.
around instead of like, yeah, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
sign in to make sure that my like my recruitment dailies, I like forget what it's called, but you like have you're the general in some army and you have to like send out recruits every 8 hours. So people they have apps now that like they'll track your I think it's the WoW mobile app. It does it for you to like track your next cooldown and then gives you a little notification, hey, sign in. And I'm like, oh god, is this a video game or is this like a or is this, I don't know.
This is a job.
It
It's
feels
a
too much.
job.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back
Yeah.
to what you were saying about wellness. That's one of the reasons why I can't play WoW anymore. Is that we actually started playing it last year on stream just to like see, and
Yeah.
it hasn't changed enough. And it wasn't fun for me. But even if that was said, our community
Yeah.
didn't really receive it very well. It's kind of hard to teach them like, here's my rotation. Here's
Mm-hmm.
if
Sure.
if I miss this buff, which you're not going to see unless you're really paying attention, then I'm going to lose out on my DPS. It's like no one's going to look at that. So it was everything it wants me to stop playing it. But I like what you said about limiting your the potential things you can buy and stuff on. So like I'm a streamer, so I got the PS4, I got the Switch for the Smash Bros, of course. I got the big box that we're doing streaming on now. Hello internet. But back before I was a streamer, I just had a PS4 and an Xbox. And I remember I had my PS4 and my PC. I got an Xbox for Destiny 1, played that a crap ton, and then like never touched my Xbox again.
Yeah.
Because all the exclusives on the Xbox were cheaper on Steam than they were on
Mm-hmm.
PC. So
Yeah. And the thing about that also is it's hard to ask people this because it's obviously so highly subjective. But I would encourage every gamer to, in their own mind, become a better connoisseur of games. Don't settle for garbage when it's thrown at you. If you can have a stricter mentality about what you know to be good, or at least what you personally find to be quality gaming, then you'll be less likely to succumb to that temptation when it's, hey, here's the newest, latest thing, everyone's doing it, you gotta check it out, and you're like, you know what? I know this company, I know this developer, I know that they always front load everything and present well. I'm not gonna buy. I'm not gonna. My brain, I forget. What is
pre-order.
it? I'm not going to pre-order. Right. I'm not going to pre-order the game. I'm not going to buy into all of this garbage so that I can get a free skin.
Right.
For my character. Right. The
like,
more
exclusive cosmetic. It's like
right.
It doesn't affect the main game, and this has actually been a big piece. Thank you for saying that. Literally, that sentence is what I've been saying for the better part of 2 weeks. With Anthem coming out, one of the biggest questions we got during the demo was, hey, is it worth buying? And I said, I don't know. Because the demo was okay. It had some problems. It had some connectivity issues. Some is an understatement. The core gameplay was damn fun, but I am of the opinion that pre-ordering games has been abused by a lot of publishers so far. It's gone so far, rather, that Fallout 76 was such a botched release, and Atlas was really terrible. I was telling you about this last time that we hung out. It was, people are calling it when you 76 a game launch, right? When you launch an unfinished, buggy product, and you just get a bunch of sales, and then you go, oh yeah, we're gonna fix it, but you fully launched the game. This was not a beta, chat, that I'm talking about. This was like, we're fully releasing Fallout 76. People are calling that 76ing a game release, and rightfully so. We should be critical, because this is the only industry in the world, I would definitely qualify it with, in the world, that behaves like this. You don't have a car dealer saying, if you pre-order our car now, you get a custom paint job. It doesn't happen. You don't have a hey, if you pre-order this box of cereal, then you get your Fruit Loops come in a different color. Like, no,
right? No,
it doesn't happen.
And let me clarify. I don't even mind that they do the things that they do.
Right.
The point is that we have the power and we have the knowledge today that we didn't have before. I mean, if your chat has never gone through like the Angry Video Game Nerd series on YouTube,
he's great.
You need to drop what you're doing after this and watch it, because basically the only thing he's telling you in every episode is that, back in the 80s and 90s, you had almost no information to go on.
Right.
You bought a game because it was in a Sears catalog based on one picture and a little paragraph, that doesn't describe the game remotely, and that's it. And you play it, or you go rent it like the rest of us did. You go to Blockbuster, you get out your car, you
Yep.
rent it, you bring it home, you've got it for 2 days. You start it up Friday night, and it's garbage. And when I was a
God, you
kid,
rented it, right?
right. But when I was a kid, I just thought I was dumb. I was just like, oh, this was made by adults. They know what they're doing.
Right.
They're adults. They make things that are great. I've played Mario. Mario is great. But I'm playing, I'm playing Fester's Quest, and I'm getting raked over the coals and dying left and right. What's wrong with me? And it wasn't until I was an adult that or older, I realized, no. Guess what? They made crappy games, and they sold them to you for a lot of money.
Right.
But maybe your chat, people who are in your audience, they don't have to deal with that problem anymore. They do not have to remotely ever have to play a terrible game ever, as long as they can be a little patient, a little bit observant, and they can be a little bit more, I'm trying to think of a little bit more like Gordon Ramsay when it comes to their food and the game
right.
choices.
It's like this extreme attention to detail, and I like the word that you said, patient. This is something that I've been preaching this for a long time when it comes to pre-ordering games, especially that. With Anthem, for example, I got the package. I spent a little bit extra money because I'm a content creator. I spent a little bit extra money. I did pre-order the game because, again, I feel like I have a obligation to showcase the content to you, the viewer, and give you the full experience to give you the most informed decision. You were just talking about we have all this information. People that watch my content literally have been saying, Lauru, should I buy Anthem? Well, we're going to answer that, chat, in just a few weeks when I'm playing the game a week early because I pre-ordered the game with that package, right? A week early. I can tell you definitively after a couple days if you should get the game or not, especially with all the stuff we were talking about from the demo. That didn't happen back in the day. You were kind of you were saying that. That just didn't happen. I remember when Pokemon Yellow came out, all of us were super hyped. And I remember thinking, this is just blue version with a Pikachu.
Yeah.
But when I was that age, I was like, oh, it's more Pokemon. Everyone's having fun. But I remember going it's the same thing. This was the same price as the last version. That was my first business-minded thing that I can remember, Chad. I was like, I just got taken by Nintendo. So I didn't like it.
Absolutely.
So,
I was gonna add, like you were saying before, building off what you were saying about how patience really is your most valuable asset, not only in your hobby, but in life, in finances. And the more that you can be strict about these choices, and reputation really is everything. So you're developing a reputation by doing what you're doing, and your audience is following you. If you say yes to a game that's garbage, you're gonna lose your audience. Right. So it's incumbent upon you to try and deliver quality content that way.
That's what I'm saying.
At the same time, game publishers, they want this, but it's turning into basically what I call the political effect or the politics effect, where kind of like the same thing happening in movies is rather than, in politics, what you really get in real life, I want to get political here, but in real life, generally what you get is a relatively normal person who is just as much a scumbag as anyone else is. They're not Gandhi, right? They're not a Mona Lisa or
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. There it is.
We're not all Mona Lisa, Chad. You heard it here first.
Right, we're not Mona Lisa, right? And what they do is they really put a nice clean shine on everything, and they're like, this is going to be amazing, which is exactly what Bethesda did, right? With Fallout 76, they really were like, look at this, it's amazing. And we were like, well, we have no reason to distrust you because you guys have put out quality before.
Right.
But your audience should really, it would benefit them to just trust that gut instinct, right? The more strict you are about the choices you make, you're going to look at that. And I remember seeing the first 76 trailer, and I was like, I love me some Fallout. But I watched it and I was like, I don't feel right about this.
Yeah, it looks like
something's not there.
I remember watching the trailers and I was like, is this like a fan-made game? That was my first question. And they were like, no, it's developed. I was like, this looks like Fallout 3. It looks like we've gone back a couple years. And they're like, well, it's a multiplayer game. They had to turn on the graphics. I was like, listen, have you seen some of the games coming out? This is me talking to one of my buddies, that are multiplayer games. Look at ESO. ESO is beautiful on even medium tier graphics. Middle of the chat, I can't even speak. I'm so frustrated. It's like, this is I like the idea that we'll just wait a week. and just see what everybody else is saying, because at worst you lose a week of gameplay on the multiplayer, but guess what? Everybody's going to be in the same raid lockout. Everybody's going to be at the same level. You might be a week behind, but you'll catch up in a matter of days. And now you've saved yourself.
You will. Yeah.
Right, if you really want to. Now, one of the problems on Twitch is because everybody's trying to get that nice clout. Everybody's coming in, and you have to play the game first, because that's actually the first rule of the 20 immutable rules of marketing. The first rule is be first in something. This is very important. Yes. You're trying to market yourself. Yes. So there's this mad dash to make content on Twitch, and this is actually it ends up being a very anti-consumer kind of practice, because what happens is you got these streamers going, they're rushing to buy the game, and then look at Atlas chat. You had this is a good game now. There's still some bugs. There's still a lot of bugs, but at launch it was a freaking travesty. And this is a game that streamers were playing, and for your knowledge, Chris, streamers were playing this game with a floating text at the top like, "Do not buy this game. I'm playing it for memes." Just so they were it was crystal clear that they weren't endorsing the game by playing the game. But that's what it comes down to, chat, is that it doesn't matter what the floating text is at the top. This is free advertising. The one I'm referencing, chat, is Admiral Baru, had it on the top. So great content. He had this on the top of his thing. It didn't matter. He still had thousands, tens of thousands watching him play Atlas, right? This is an ad to however many thousands of people filtered in through his channel that day. And I guarantee you most of them bought Atlas. Should they have? Well, I think history will say that. We'll see that to be good or bad. Many of our community is enjoying the game now. My point is, how much better many of them would have been if they had just waited a couple days, let alone a week, just to save some of your wallets. Because there's always going to be that new big title, the new shiny thing. And if we're just spending our money on everything, you're never going to enjoy the games you have, and you're never going to have the money to afford the games that are coming out.
Right. And I mean, maybe the second to last thing I'll say, it depends on how far we go. The second to last thing I'll say is, don't forget how powerful your voice is, not only in regards to communicating in this online world, right? About you're like, you know what, everyone's on board on this, and you're going to be like, I'm not on board. I don't see X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z is what I say it makes a good game, and I don't see that here. And obviously, your gaming companies, publishers, software developers, they're not going to change until you hit them where it hurts. That's with all that money matters.
That's right.
Right. And so if Bethesda puts out a second clunker, or let's say this, whatever Bethesda puts out next, everyone's going to be very cautious.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be very cautious.
This is the reason.
Even if it's good, even if it's a good game, it can be a fantastic game, whatever they make next. But guess what? They're not going to see that many sales, at least initially, because we know better.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with movies. Like you put out a movie. You put out, let's say, without we want to go down this dark road.
You put down a Star Wars movie. Right? Here we go.
You put out a Star Wars movie that people don't like, and whether they're justified in their dislike for it or not. You're going to expect, hopefully, that you're going to see some change sooner or later. You're going to see them say, okay, we're going to take a step back. We're going to go in a different direction. We're going to make sure we don't do these things that we do anymore.
You didn't like Darth Binks, the Sith Lord, the ruler of everything evil?
I have to be honest with you. I actually, if you go through like Reddit has all these fan theories. I got to admit that when you crowdsource movie ideas or story arc ideas, you get some real gems.
You get some serious gems, yeah.
It would have been corny, but like a Darth Jar Jar Binks. Hey, you want to subvert my expectations? I'd have done it.
Yeah, I think I told you this one back when we were hanging out with like chat. There's that old meme, is like when Jar Jar is and we're getting off topic but whatever. When Jar Jar is in front of the Senate, and it's like, we have to vote Amidala in, and he waves his hands like a freaking Jedi. Chatty mind tricks the whole Senate. Everyone's like, look, he's got powers. You got some clicking going on your mic, buddy. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what it is.
Is that me? I got clicking?
Just a little bit. Sounds like you're opening a bottle of Advil or something. Right. I'm not sure.
I'm relaxing in a chair with a gin and tonic. Sorry.
Oh, it's the ice. Look at that, chat. We got some quality times coming in. What kind of gin is very important?
Oh, that's a good question. I stole it from my roommate, so
okay.
I didn't look at the bottle.
Okay, so fair. If it's Hendrix, we'll be okay. Hendrix is my favorite gin. It's the best.
Oh,
It's the
really?
best. We have family
No.
friends that are very French, and it's always Hendrix without exception. It's
Okay.
it's a great time.
Now we're
So
on
yeah,
drinking.
now
Okay.
we're on drinking. But yeah, chat. How do you save money on games? Buy gin. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be the way. So
Well, and maybe this is my final point, at least in terms of the hobby management. The thing I'll say is, it's the one thing that's probably the one thing they don't want to hear. It's the most uncomfortable thing, which simply is you should game less. If you game less, and by rather than, I don't mean stop gaming, or I don't mean necessarily force yourself not to game anymore, but if you take on other things, if you socialize more, if you read more, if you exercise more, if you do the things that are also really beneficial to your health, you find that you naturally just kind of like anybody else fall behind sometimes. And I know
right.
plenty of people who are in my age group and they're just like, oh, I can't wait to play X game, this game, whatever it is. And we're like, wow, that came out like 6 months ago. And they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm going to enjoy the whole game at a discount and probably with DLC at a discount. And I don't feel like I've lost anything because I've
Yep.
still been living my best life.
Yeah, how many of us, and I'm including myself in this chat, I only recently started working out, like within the past couple years, and I can tell you that it's actually choosing to put down the controller. Like after this podcast, what I would normally do after I would like do some work was I would go, okay, time, I deserve some game time, and I would play video games till I pass out. So I wouldn't sleep well, so I wouldn't work out in the morning, so I would have a crappy day, so I would come home and then I would do some more work, and then I would go, you know what, it's been a long day, I deserve some gaming, and then I would play some gaming, and then I would repeat the daggum cycle over and over again. Now after this podcast chat, I got some day job work I got to go do. I know it's Monday night, but I'm trying to set myself up for success for the week. I'm gonna go work out later, and not filling my time solely with fun, and I think that's one of the topics that we are touching on. Not when Chris says gaming less, and stop me if I'm putting words in your mouth. You're not, and as you even said, don't quit games. Just there's so much more out there that you can do for your wellness. That's the kind of the theme of the last couple podcasts. Than solely playing games with your buddies, chugging Mountain Dew, all that stuff. So unless you like Code
And
Red,
I'll say
Code Red's
this.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this for myself though. Like maybe one of my limits also is that I generally only play or game at night. That's how it
Right.
goes. I'm like, if it's daytime, there's things I can do, there's places I can go. I'll game at night. If we get a snow day, guess what? I'm on the couch. It's
Oh,
it's
totally.
it's an all day thing.
Of course.
But and those are fine, and those make those days a little bit more special sometimes too. But
Right. But what
all
I
these
would do,
artificial limits you can put aren't going to hurt you.
yeah, I would have those snow days, and then the next day when I came home from work, I would do it again, and then again. when I was playing WoW, I remember I would go to bed, and this is when I was really really bad chat. I would go to bed. This is the hyperbole. When the sun was coming up was when I would be like getting in bed. I had absolutely reversed my sleep schedule. It was really bad. And it was a time in my life when I was addicted fully and like completely. It's just not good. So, but then when I quit WoW and all this different stuff, I found like, wow, I actually feel a lot better. What do you know? Because like, surprise, drowning yourself in things that make you feel good at the time ain't the move.
Yeah, and you'll find, at least depending on what your age group, that your audience really is, at the end of the day, doing more things, getting into other things, you'll find that you just overall have a better quality of life. To game constantly, and I've gone through stints in my life where I've done a lot of gaming and a lot less of everything else.
Sure.
I've never regretted taking time to do other things. But I have regretted some time being like, I spent way too much time in EverQuest, way too much time.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, for example, I signed on yesterday to finish out my Rainbow Six placements off stream just because I was like, I need to just knock these out. I don't really feel like streaming right now. I'm just going to do this over the course of a half hour and then be done. So I did. I had a pretty great game, and I'm mad that I didn't stream it, because it was kind of funny too. But
Nice.
But I'm glad that I did those 2 matches and then I stopped. The reason I didn't stream is because I knew if I streamed, I was going to keep going and I was going to keep playing.
Yeah.
But I had some stuff to do last night, and I hung out with my parents a little bit. I don't really get to hang out with them, so that was kind of fun. You know what I'm saying? So Chimera, what's up? It's good to see you. So we had a nice little night, and all because I chose other things, and I don't regret anything like that. I guarantee I don't know if I would have regretted choosing gaming last night, but long term, if that's all you're picking and that's all you're spending your money on, you're going to take it from me. You will regret those things. So
Yeah,
it's all about balance.
Agreed.
It's all about balance.
Very much.
So yeah, man. If
we were gonna go to the other side, there are some other tips just to talk about general finance.
Yeah.
About how people can manage their money. We can talk about those things. We don't want to scare away anybody. We don't want to frighten them with a little bit too much adulting in today's episode.
It's okay. We got to have more of those conversations, in my opinion. So.
Perfect. Okay. Well, there's no end. As somebody who's like looked into this and done, I'm not an expert myself, but I can tell you that I've looked into a lot about how people manage their money, how they take care of their finances, and I can tell you that there's really no end to the amount of books or podcasts or TV shows that you can watch. You're watching, any one of the investing channels or even the Market Watch. There's no end to it, and because there's no end to it, basically the cost is too high because people just say I'm completely inundated with information and I don't even know where to start, so I'm not going to start.
Sure.
And so I found that you can basically take all of the greatest points as it regards something about being financially sound. You can take all of these points and wrap them basically into 2 points. There's a lot of auxiliary points I could say, but the 2 points are very, very simple. And the first one is that you just spend less money than what you make. Okay, don't ever exceed the amount of money that you make, which is more or less another way of saying go into as little debt as you possibly can.
That sounds like an obvious fact, but I know that there's a lot of people out there in the world that are going to hear that and go, yeah. Like, he's right. What am I doing?
I myself follow an entrepreneurial podcast, and the entrepreneur that I follow basically says if you want to die a millionaire or you want to enter your old age as a millionaire, he says you basically need to just follow these 2 rules, right? And the first one is to just spend less than you make. And you're like, well, that doesn't seem hard, right? But you'd be surprised how few people do it. You look at the demographics of the United States, something like less than 5% of the United States, like mainstream, middle America, they can't survive on being without a paycheck for more than 1 or 2, cycles, basically a month.
Yeah, I'm of that demographic right now because as you know, I uprooted my life twice in 2 years. I moved out to Colorado and back, and because of that, I have accrued debt. So I just paid off one of my credit cards, and that's great. That's less interest payments for me, but that's still, if I don't get paid 1 or 2 cycles, I'm like screwed because of all the debt that I accumulated with the moving, and you know how it is. So it's like, I'm right there with you for now.
Yeah, and on that topic though, the 2 biggest and quickest areas to probably get indebted for people of a younger age, the first is an automotive expense. Mm-hmm. Most people need a car, but most people don't know the art of haggling, right? Is gone, right? So they can't even haggle a price down.
No.
But they also don't know how, what kind of car do I need? That's an entirely different conversation. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. The simple, I guess, lesson from that is, I would say, generally speaking, it's much better to buy a vehicle from someone you know rather than from someone you don't know. And the reason for that is because if someone knows you, there's an invested relationship there. I don't care if it's from your someone in like your school, someone in your church, someone in your local community. These are people who know you. A car salesman doesn't know you, and they don't care to know you. They don't need to know you. But if you buy from someone you know, you have a lot more ability to gauge a trust factor there. And so you should take some time to shop around in your own social circles, because you can find quality vehicles, from people that you know. So get smart about that. Get smart about how to buy a vehicle. And usually you shouldn't buy a new vehicle.
Yeah, that was one of my big things, is that I got my car at CarMax, and I had such a great experience there. I went to a couple other dealers, and it was like I was just getting sold, right? It was all about the margins and the sales, and you could just tell they had this like this facade on. I was like, oh yeah, this one's this much, but and there was always some like additional fee or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Then I went to CarMax, and they were like, yeah, this is how much it costs, and I was like, yeah, but how much does it really cost? And we like got to the end, and I was like, wow, that's how much it actually costs. So hashtag not sponsored, but I had a great experience with CarMax chat, So
and that's actually that is a good place. And I may or may not have been a car salesman in a previous life, and I can tell you that the markup on vehicles, actually, that the used vehicles is actually much higher than it is on new vehicles. It's harder to be competitive in the way that you sell a new vehicle because they're all the same everywhere you go. You're going to buy a brand new, Ford F-150. It's not going to be that different depending on where you buy it. But cars that are used, they have a variety of differences in them. They have mileage, they have wear and tear. These things affect the price, and so it's a lot more murky in terms of what do I buy? What's the value of this? And so all that to simply say that, excluding places like CarMax, if you buy a used car from a dealership, you have a lot more haggling room than you think you do. My rule of thumb, or my sales manager's rule of thumb, was to take any car, whatever price they were going to sell it at, they were going to sell it for $10,000. He was always going to mark it up $5,000 more. And that way, when you haggle and you get maybe $1,000 off the price tag, you feel pretty good. But they're still making $4,000.
Right.
On top of that,
they're still making close to 50%, on that purchase, which is massive. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cars are something like.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
Cars are something else. Yeah. Cars are definitely the major expense, and without going too much in another rabbit hole, the other direction is the two major debts are an automotive purchase. Those can be huge. The other actually can also obviously be education. I don't think that's not like a new concept to anybody. Education can be incredibly expensive, and you have to make your own choices on education. Everyone does. Everyone has to decide what they want to do and where they want to go, because there are factors that affect that deeply. But for a lot of people who don't necessarily know what they want to do or have a particular passion in a particular area, they don't need to go to Ivy League schools. They don't need to go to the richest schools that are going to cost the most. You can get lots of education very relatively cheap and go in without getting any debt. I made it through all of my first 4 years of school with zero debt.
Did you go to community colleges though?
I did. I went to community college, and I
apply for
it.
grants and loans and all that stuff. When you say
you apply for everything,
yeah,
you apply for everything, and you'd be surprised because you know what? Some people, I used to have this mentality, but the mentality was that the only people who get money, they get money or they get those things because they've worked extremely hard or they've done something to get there. I don't know if I can do that. And a lot of times the reality is the people who get some of those things or get money, they're just because they ask. It's just because they ask. And all it takes sometimes is asking. You're like, I'll fill out this paperwork and I'll see what happens. Yeah. And you'd be surprised when checks roll in.
That was my big thing. Like, so I'm trying to go back to school in the fall of next year, and I just don't know. Like I've come to the conclusion that I am going to go into more debt because I need a college degree. I don't have a 4-year degree. I skipped a step and got the job. Y'all know this, chat. It's been a hell of a ride, but I know I need one long term. I really do, because some people see it as a waste, but I think that I'm definitely going to talk to you more, since you know more about this than I do. I don't know how to do grants. I don't know how to apply for stuff. So, in chat, as I get that knowledge, I'll pass it back off to you into our Discord channel, because I know there's plenty of people in my chat and in the community, and not just now, but will be in the community, that are going to go, Laura had that finance episode. Where'd all that information go? It'll be in the Discord chat, I think. So it will definitely be there, because these are things that they affect us for decades after you're done with college. I'll be in, I'm taking one class in the fall, just to see how it fits my overall schedule. If I take one class a semester, I'm not going to be done with college for literally 10 years. But I need to, that's it's a hell of a thing, but I need to do it, champ. I gotta do it, so it's like, Shrug.
and
Throw my
and
hands up.
and don't and look to the internet, right? Look to new developments in technology that can also cut those corners. Because at the end of the day, I've gone to school for 6 years. I can tell you that my experience, whether in class or online, is relatively not that different. There
Right.
were a few shining, examples that I preferred to be in the classroom, and I loved every minute of it. But 9 times out of 10, you'll get a professor who'll say, "Here's the curriculum, here's the syllabus, here's the book. I'm going to just rattle off notes on a PowerPoint. You're going to take notes, and then we'll take a test sooner or later." And you
Jeez.
can do that from home. You can do it, and if you can find schools that, because they have those systems in place, it may not even necessarily cut costs for you, but may also afford you the ability to get more classes done, get more things accomplished in a day. That's still an advantage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your students, your audience. I'm sorry, your audience. Maybe you can call them your students, maybe, but
Yeah.
your audience, they should take full advantage of those things. And all it really takes is a little bit of research.
Hmm. That's good to know, because I'm sure we do have some students in the community. I don't know how many, but they are there. And as a future student myself, this is good to know, because I look at this channel. I thought I was just going to give y'all some value, and here I am getting some value myself. Getting some. I'll go apply for some stuff. For my own college.
All right.
Right?
Well, here's
So.
here's the next big thing. So
Mhm.
here's rule number 2. That was rule number 1, right? We went
Okay.
on a long, discourse there about spending less than you make, right? Meaning avoid debts as much as you can. And the other golden rule, I guess, rule number 2 is, because everyone always wants to know about investing. So I'm an economist by trade, and the thing that people always come to me, they want to say is, like, where should I invest my money? How do I understand the stock market? I don't get any of this. It doesn't make any sense. Blah blah blah. And the real hard answer for a lot of that is simply that if you want to understand investing and you want to understand stock markets, it's going to take effort on your part.
Mm.
It's just going to. It is impossible for you to succeed and not at least take some time to say, okay, I'm going to at least read something about this. I'm going to watch a video on YouTube about this. I don't care what your medium is. You're going to have to start investing some of your mental power in those things. Because at the end of the day, just kind of passing your money off to somebody else to invest for you, it's not terrible. I wouldn't say that anyone shouldn't do that. I
Right.
do that. I have investments, but the point is that you're going to have to put in some legwork. And as it regards investing specifically, maybe you say, hey, I want to get into investing. I want to know how to do all these things that people do. Well, the truth is, at the end of the day, that most people don't know a wide berth or breadth of investing markets, unless there are like maybe, yeah, I'll say 10 people, but there are like 1 out of 100 people, or 1 out of 1,000, maybe is a better way. 1 out of 1,000 probably could understand a diverse set of aspects of how the way the stock market works and how it functions and where markets are moving and what that means for
Right.
money.
At
Most of us, we
like
can't do that.
in
Okay,
an
we don't have the
effective
time.
way to make money, right? In a
Yes,
way that they can read and anticipate. And it's just so, I'm sure it's not entirely complicated. There's just a lot of things
there's
that
too
I
much, right?
don't
There's too much
know.
information.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
too
so
much. So,
so what you want to do, what your audience wants to do instead is, so you're going to invest whatever money you set aside for investments, right? You're gonna spend less money than you make, and then you're gonna save some of that, and then you're gonna take a portion of that, and you're gonna invest in markets that you understand.
mm,
You're gonna say, okay, well, I don't understand any markets. Okay, pick one, anyone. I don't care if it's energy. It can be entertainment. It can be technology. It could be the gaming industry. Find something that is an industry that you can understand, and that'll give you the incentive you need to say,
yeah.
okay, I want to know how these things work. I already like this industry, so I'm going to follow it on a money side. And once you get that, once you understand that, then you can expand as much as you want. You can say, well, I did energy. Energy is a great
Mhm,
place to start,
mm,
although it is complex.
right.
But he's like, I did energy, and now I'm going to go into technology. Technology is a great one also to start, because if we're already gamers, we already like tech, the tech world. Follow technology. Follow just a little bit of industry news about major changes that are happening in the tech world, and do a little. You don't want to jump on the next Bitcoin, wave. because
Yeah.
sure, there are people who benefited from that tremendously, but at the end of the day, that's not a stable investment. An investment is not about making money quick. A stable investment is about how do you maintain or increase your wealth over the long term,
Right. Yeah.
and that's it.
That's a really good. I want to focus on one thing that you said, and that's a really good tip. And this kind of goes with a lot of things we've been saying on the podcast and on stream. Y'all know that I'm a fan. I'm a devout fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and one of the things that Gary V says is to just go, stop overthinking something, and just take that
Yeah,
first step of make it
yeah,
it doesn't matter but what the action is in almost every case, as long as you just move forward. And I'm not saying figure it out as you go for everything, but sometimes just the action of moving forward is enough to get you going. So I love Gary V. Stark. It's the freaking best. And I know you. That's right, buddy. That's right. So like,
and
good.
but the truth is, piggybacking off you, what you're saying is it costs basically nothing to open up like a TD Ameritrade account. You can open up an account, and you can just put in what, $50, right? And
Yeah.
you can buy stocks. You can just pick stocks in the area that you want to look into. Pick the cheap ones. It doesn't matter. Pick the cheap ones. Learn about those companies. Learn a bit about what you're, and every month you can check in every couple of weeks, but every month you can add a little bit more, add a little
Mhm.
bit more.
Do you recommend
It's
like for like newbies like myself that know nothing about the stock market, nothing about investing of any kind, do you recommend that
mhm.
that is the action that someone like me or someone that's new to this kind of thing takes, where they just go to not necessarily, but a TD Ameritrade and drop 50, $100 and just say, hey, you definitely call somebody and talk to them about like what kind of strategies they have for their investing, put a little skin in the game, but let somebody else
Yes.
handle it initially. Does that sound like a better plan at the very beginning, or
Here's
do
the
you
here's
recommend
the
the
thing.
research first?
Here's the thing. If you're let's say for whatever reason you're fortunate enough to get maybe a little gift from a relative, maybe your grandparents drop you a couple of G's. There's nothing wrong with taking that money and giving it to somebody at like like Edelman Financial. Like you give that to them, and you say, I've got this amount of money. I'm giving it to you. I'm trusting you to use your systems and your formulas that you guys have in place for sound investing, and they'll do that. But you need to get your hands dirty, and again, like I said, 50, $25. Put the money in first, because at the end of the day, you're not going to care enough if you don't have any skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, oh, I'm going to read about the tech sector, and then once I feel comfortable, I'll put some money in. Like you said, right? The example that I was going to go from is a book I read that was called Just Do Something, right?
Yeah.
And just doing something is the hardest part.
Yeah, I definitely that resonates. That resonates a lot with me specifically because now that I've paid off my first credit card, I have one more big credit card, and I I find myself frustrated with the amount of money that I'm making, and I'm spending less. That was one of my big things when I came back to Colorado. I'm packing lunch every day. I've gotten my like
Mm.
cost per meal to like $2.50, $2, right? And dinner, I'm like not buying any excess food. I'm not eating out unless we're out with friends, and I'm only doing that like once or twice a month, right? Because when my friends say, "Hey, can we hang out?" I say, "Come over to my place," or "I'll come over to your place," and I bring food that I've cooked or made because I'm trying to save. And I have friends that have kids, so it ends up working out. But I have been not spending a lot of money, but I'm still not seeing the results in a timely manner that I want. So
Yeah.
hearing this is good for me as well, I'm sure, for the viewers, because I personally like maybe you can walk me through how to do that one of these days there, Chris, because I don't have a lot of excess capital, but if I put in
Hmm.
the initial thing of like $50 and then every paycheck if I put in $10, what is that, 24 paychecks a year, that's $240 a year that they're handling,
Hmm.
and then if I
Yeah.
keep, and then all of a sudden I can put it up to $20 maybe because I've been continuing on the good financial practices, right? So do you
Yeah.
think that's a good idea, doing like a little bit at a time every paycheck, or is it
Yes.
better for investments to like drop more money and then just drop more money, or is a little bit more better?
Going at whatever comfortable pace is for you is ideal. That's
Mm.
always the best bet. Keep in mind that nobody knows what they're doing regarding most of these things going in. If you're very, very, we'll say lucky, I guess. If you're very, very lucky, there are some people who are they're built for this. They see the stock markets, they see investing and financing, and it's like they can read a palm. They
Right.
just know how to make it work. The rest of us are just figuring it out,
Yeah.
and there's no shame in that. But there is a lot of pride in you taking those first steps. And again, for example, just using my example, and I'm not sponsoring anybody here, but like
Hashtag
using my own
not
example, like
sponsored.
with TD Ameritrade, there are thousands of videos online right now. You can just say, how do I open an account? How do I buy a stock? How do I sell a stock?
Everything's on YouTube,
Uh,
literally
right,
everything.
right, and very simple, very easy to do, and to go off on kind of what you were saying too is the truth is, we're not going to go down any rabbit holes here, but this is kind of my passion because as an economist, I'd love to talk a lot about the economy. I'd love to talk about money. I'd love to talk about where we're going as a society. But the truth of the
Yeah.
matter is there are a whole host of forces arrayed against you and me and your audience as it regards our ability to generate and maintain wealth. And the truth is, at the end of the day, in a perfect world, you and I shouldn't have to constantly think in the back of our minds, how can I get involved in investing and finances so that I can do X, Y, and Z, so that I can just live, not so that I have to necessarily retire a millionaire and have my own island,
Yeah.
but how can I
That's
just
where I'm at.
live? And the unfortunate reality is that there's a ton of things in our economy that are eating away at your wealth passively, invisibly, in ways that you've maybe never heard of. And if probably you were told, you'd be like, that's not real, right? That's not how that works. But the truth is, we live in a culture now where you basically have no choice. You have to get involved in being an active participant in your own financial security.
Right.
And the truth is that this is not about money like it's the be all end all. I'm not here to tell you that money solves every problem, but I am here to tell you that freedom in so many ways is often found in just financial security. People who are financially secure have far more peace in their lives. And look, who doesn't want to have a peaceful life? Nobody wants to go into tomorrow wondering how am I going to afford X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely going to resonate with a lot of people that hear this. Is that's what you have to do? Is you have to kind of take the reins and choose to be proactive with your own. I say this phrase all the freaking times yet. Be proactive with your own happiness, but we're applying it to financial things for this episode. So
Yeah.
if I let's just get down to brass tacks. If I was going to open up some kind of investment folder, I don't know what it's called, whatever. You recommend Ameritrade, not hashtag not
I
sponsored,
do.
as like a
Yeah,
why
hashtag not
then?
sponsored. I do. I'm actually, and I'll be transparent. So my good friend is a tax accountant,
Hmm.
and I asked him. I said, "What do you think is the best?" You know what? We don't know everything. There's probably a better option out there. I know there's online options. There's mobile apps where you can do things quickly. Don't be taken advantage of necessarily, though. I mean, if somebody says,
Right.
"Hey, you can trade, buy, and sell stocks with no charge," they got to make money somehow, right?
Yeah.
So don't
Right.
don't necessarily buy into just the quick and easy route, because the truth is, when you have it like in a TD Ameritrade account, you have to pay for every time you buy stocks.
Hmm.
It's like $7. So it
Okay.
depends on the size of the
Interesting.
stock you're buying, so that could be more expensive even than the stock you bought. Um,
So different companies, and
but
this makes sense. This is like an obvious fact I wouldn't have thought of. Different investment companies have different monetization strategies, just like we were talking about earlier. Different video
just
games
like
have
gamers.
different. Yeah,
Yep.
right. Just like every other piece of our lives.
Yep.
So that's part
Yep.
of the research that you'll have to do, chat. Is you'll have to find the situation that's right for you. Are you not going to buy a lot of stock? You're happy with this. You're just going to keep dumping money in. Maybe a company like Ameritrade is for you, where you only and I don't
Yeah.
know enough about it, but you're primarily spending money with them with Ameritrade when you buy stock, not when you're
Yeah.
putting money in. Maybe you're going to buy a lot of stock and they charge you when you put money in. Maybe you don't go with that company. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
stuff like
and
that.
go ahead and
Interesting.
Google.
Yeah.
Just say what is the best, what are the best stock trading
Google
apps
Food.
or applications. Do it. That's fine. Whatever makes you comfortable is what matters. TD Ameritrade is tried and tested. It's a little bit more bare bones in terms of when you set up your account. It's a lot of graphs and a lot of numbers, and you look at it and you're like, what am I looking at? but you look at it long enough and you go, okay, well, this is my account. This is my account balance. This is how my account is either going up or going down. Here's how my individual stocks are going up or going down. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But whatever you're not afraid of, because if you're going to open something and immediately be afraid of it, you're either going to have to bite your lip and go for it, or you're going to have to find something that doesn't scare you so much. And look, everyone's scared. It's not like you're looking around like, oh, I don't get this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something that I struggle with right now is like, I want to find better ways to monetize my time. This is one of the reasons why I'm opening up the company that I'm opening up. This is one of the reasons why when I'm at my day job, I try to be so efficient at my day job so I can make sure that I leave at 5 or at least close to it every day so I can come home and stream, so I can help build this community. You know, it's like something I'm cognizant of. But sometimes, and recently, now that I've like really taken hold of my finances, I look back at all of the things I did wrong and I'm like, oh man, if only I had somebody telling me some good stuff sooner. So those of you in chat that are, you know, here listening, you heard some good stuff today. We got like, what were the 2 top level points that we were just talking about? We had some people just come in.
We'll do that again. Yeah, those 2 main points, right, are spend less money than you make, right? Simple, easy, and inside that kind of means avoid your debts, major debts being things like automotive purchases and school. That doesn't mean don't buy a car, don't go to school. It just means you got to learn how to be smart in those purchases. And the second one is simply, if you're going to get into investing, which you should, if for your own sake is to preserve your wealth, then you should invest in markets that you understand. And you don't need to be a guru of all markets. Most people are not.
And if you don't understand a market, just pick one that's similar to your hobbies. Is that right? And then just...
Or interesting. Similar or interesting. Anything. Yeah.
Like TimeThor, I know chat, TimeThor has NVIDIA stock. You know, we don't really know a lot about hardware. He knows more than I do, but we don't know a lot comparatively. But he has a lot of NVIDIA stock because he believes in that company, and we buy a lot of NVIDIA products. So by him like buying a graphics card from them, we are upping his stock price long. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like not a lot, but it's part of the equation, right? Our sales to that stock are raising the stock eventually. So at least a little bit. Stuff like that.
And I would generally say, just as a general word of advice for anybody who is getting into stock purchases, it can be very, very enticing to buy as when stocks are rising, but more or less the odds are better against you most of the time if you buy in the dip, which means that you're buying as a stock is going down.
Like now.
And watch when the market collapses, right? When you're ready for the next market correction to hit, that's a whole other topic, right? What's a market correction? How do I know when these things happen? We go through a thing called the business cycle, where every couple of years what happens is things go up, things are amazing, and then they go right back down. And
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea for next episode. Why don't we specifically, because for this episode, Chris and I were trying to figure out like what exactly we were going to talk about, financial wellness, all that stuff. Exactly, Andoa, exactly. I think that's a good, that sounds like its own episode where we go into like, we're going to have financial expert come back on the show and talk about specifically, okay, here's your investing. Here's like a good intro practices for specifically investing. And then maybe we talk about because chat, the market's going down right now and it looks like it's going to continue going down. Stop me if I'm wrong, Chris. But when the market crashes, what do you do if you're doing investing? And let's equip you to at least have a better understanding. I think that sounds like a really good next episode. What do you think about that, Chris?
That's a great idea. And I'll just say this, because people, they hear market crashing and they're like, this is awful. I'll tell you this, millionaires are made when markets collapse.
I want to do that, Chan. I want to be made. I want to. I want it. So, yeah. Cool. Well, hey, I think actually how close I was like, oh, geez, awesome. I'm perfect on time right now. That flew by. And that's kind of how this goes. That's what I was telling you earlier. I was like, wow, it's already freaking time to go. So I'll give you the last word, buddy. You can plug whatever you want. You can, if you got a favorite mantra you've been going by recently, if you got a book you've been reading, if you got a CD you've been listening to, go ahead and drop it on the people, and then we'll fade you out.
Geez, that's a lot to say. Since I am an econ person, and if you feel like you want to learn a little bit more about economics, if that's something that is a passion for you, or even just a question, because it definitely affects your your wealth and your well-being, I would like to recommend an old favorite. It's a short book, which I'm sure you'll love. And it's a book. It's called Economics in One Lesson. And it's a fantastic book, and it's got to be one of the best places to start. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but it's very short, and it was written by a journalist, actually. So you're not going to necessarily get bored to tears with the typical jargon that you get in econ books. It's a very enjoyable read, and it's a very biting kind of read. The kind of good writing you got. You look at a book, anything 50 years older or
Right.
older, and they wrote a little bit more biting back then. So
Is it by Henry Hazlitt?
yeah, Henry Hazlitt.
Cool. So I just Googled that. I'm going to put that in the Discord chat. We have a read section. I'm going to put that in the Discord chat. Thank you, Shelly. Perfect. Excellent. I'm going to put that in there so we don't forget. Chris, thanks, buddy. This was a pleasure. We'll have you on again so we can talk about more investing stuff.
Sounds great.
Sweet. I'm going to hang up the thing, and I will talk to you after, my friend.
All right.
See you soon, bud. Chat, very interesting stuff. Very interesting. This is something I would like to continue. I had planned on this being a one-off episode where we're going to talk about some money stuff. We're going to talk about gaming. We're going to kind of like shoot the shit maybe. But this, I like this. And I'll be a little bit selfish, chat. I don't know anything about investing. I know nothing. And who better to teach me than somebody coming on the podcast and showcasing it to you as well. We can have a little simultaneous study sesh, So I know it's not the most exciting thing. I know it's not the most, riveting subject, financial things, investing, various stuff like that. But it is important, Chan. It is important. Your wellness is important to me, and I want to showcase this stuff to you. So I hope you will enjoy this episode, and we're going to fade out now the podcast is done here. This has been another episode of the Sanctum Sessions podcast. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to follow or subscribe on all the big platforms. We're on all of them. This podcast is supported by our Patreon. Head over to patreon.loru.tv for exclusive podcast rewards. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.